Good morning, children. Welcome to Commerce class. So, in the last class, we discussed about the definition of company. What is a company according to Section 2 of Companies Act of 1930, and we discussed the characteristics of company. Now, today, let us discuss about the advantages of company. Here, when we talk of company, a small recap of what is company. Company, it is an association of persons where many people contribute the share capital of the capital needed for the business, and the trade is carried on by few people who are entrusted as a board of directors. With them the management of the company lies, and the shareholders can transfer their shares to some other person, and the company will keep on existing doing the business. And the liability of the shareholders is limited to the extent of the share capital paid by them, or if they have not paid the full share capital, to the extent of whatever is due, that is to be paid by the shareholders. Now we shall look into the advantages of joint stock company. When we look into the advantages of joint stock company, the first advantage is it requires a large capital. See, a huge volume of capital to be raised is only possible in the case of joint stock company. Just take for example, if it is a sole trading concern, it is not possible to raise such a huge amount of capital by a single person. Neither if it is going to be a partnership concern, it is practically impossible to raise such a huge capital, which is only possible with respect to joint stock company. A good example is Reliance Telecom Venture. They started with a huge capital investment of 25,000 crores. Okay, can't imagine such huge value, which is never even possible in case of partnership and sole trading concern. The next advantage is limited liability. The liability of the shareholders is limited. I told you to what extent it is limited. See, if you are a shareholder, if the company is going to be at loss and the company is at the verge of winding up, your liability is only to the extent of whatever you have contributed, whatever is your share value. On the other hand, you have purchased share, but you have paid only part of the share capital to the company. Now your liability will be to the extent of whatever you have not paid, the unpaid part of the share capital. Next is transferability of shares. See, it is possible for the shareholders to easily transfer the shares from one person to another person. It is easy for them to sell the shares. See, if I need money for my business purpose or anything, I can sell my shares to some other person, and I can immediately redeem the cash also. Next is perpetual succession, that is continuous existence. I told you members can get into the company. The transferability of shares are possible. You can sell the shares. Okay, a new member can enter into the company, but the operation of the company will keep on going. That is the reason why long-term investment projects are able to be undertaken by the joint stock companies. Next is promotion of savings and investment. Just imagine we are a normal individual who has got a regular income, and suppose if we wanted to save money, but I do not have the caliber to do a business. So what I can do is, whatever the portion of money that I have saved, I can invest that money as share capital into a growing concern. Suppose if I feel Reliance Petrochemical is flourishing well, and they are doing the business on a very fair manner, and the returns are also better. What I can do, whatever is the savings that I have made, I can just invest it by buying the share capital of Reliance Petro. Like by doing that, I am benefited by year after year, the profit is being given to the shareholders as dividend. Apart from that, if the company is growing, the share value of that particular Reliance Petrochemical will also grow. So the amount of money which I have invested, suppose if I have invested 1 lakh, if the company is doing well, the share capital what I have invested 1 lakh can also move to 2 lakhs also, depending on the growth of the company. So this joint stock company, it promotes savings and investment habit with respect to the individuals. Next is economies of large scale. The word economies here means advantages. See, advantages of large scale production. Where all can we see the advantages of large scale production? See, for example, if you are going to invest high, first thing is if the production is on a large scale, you need to buy raw materials on a large scale. So when you buy something on a large volume, definitely you have a better bargaining power to buy the commodity. So as a result of it, what will happen? The cost of production will come down. And when you go for large scale employment, you employ people on a basis of division of labor. So by doing a same work again and again, a person becomes very specialized in doing that particular task. As a result, what will happen? Specialization will lead to large scale production. So the cost of production is likely to be less in case of large scale operation. When the cost of production is less, automatically the profit margin will be very high in case of large scale production. This is not possible in case of sole proprietorship concern or in the case of partnership. The next is economic development. See, one of the biggest advantage with large scale production is since the production is on the higher side, you need to employ more number of people to produce the goods and services. As a result, what will happen? It creates good lot of employment opportunities to many people in the country. So they are contributing to the development of the country as such. Another thing is, when a large scale company is to be started, it cannot be started in the prime areal locality or anything, because it requires a huge amount of space. So they will choose the outskirts of the city, where even the less developed place are likely to gain development because of the establishment of few large scale industries. A very good example what I would say for you is, all of us know Coimbatore area. See, few years back, the Saravanampatti area, the Sati Road area, or the Tudilur areas, it were all it was not that much developed as it is now. It is only because of the development of few large scale industries, that is KGISL and a few more, okay, to name it. Okay, they started these industries, and colleges, KCT colleges there, and few number of colleges which require huge space. So they started those industries and institutions there. As a result of that, now that whole area has developed, now has economically developed, and it has become one of the populous area in Coimbatore as such. This is possible. So regional development is possible only in case of large scale industries or joint stock company. Next is, definitely when we talk of advantages, joint stock company has also got few disadvantages associated with it. The first disadvantage is costly and difficult to form. Unlike sole proprietorship concern or partnership concern, you cannot start a joint stock company easily. It is very difficult to form because it involves too much of legal formalities which has to be observed, because the act, the law governs all the legal formalities under the Companies Act of 2013. They have to follow so much of legal procedures and formalities to start a joint stock company. Next is scope for dishonest and unscrupulous management. See, when in the case of a sole trading concern or a partnership concern, the owner of the business has got personal attention towards the business. He sees that there is no misuse of power, because whatever he is directly managing the business. He is not being paid because it is his money which is being invested in the business. So he will see that he does the maximum justice to the business for the money that he has invested. But whereas in the case of a joint stock company, the directors are the people who do the management of the business. So every time you cannot expect all the people to be honest. They can be dishonest also. Because of the power and the position that lies with them, there is more chances of misusing the powers for their personal gains. This is also possible because they are one of the owners of the joint stock company, but they are holding the powers to manage the business. Next is management oligarchy. See, there are few rich people. What they do is to obtain the position or the director's position, or to take the control of managing the business, few rich people they have take a control of the maximum number of shares that they wanted to, just because they wanted to take the position of the directors. By doing that repeatedly, it happens like only few rich people are into the management of the joint stock company. This form of control, you call it as oligarchy, where only few people manage the business, and though there are thousands of people who are capable of managing the business. Next is speculation. Few individuals may corner the shares. See, they wanted to take control over the business, for which what will they do? They will allocate few shares for their individual needs, only for the reason that they have to control the business. This you call it as speculation. Next is lack of interest. See, the officers of the company, they do not have the incentives to work or the motivation to work, because it is not their money which is invested. It is someone else's money and they are being paid for that. See, if it is your money, you will see that you do the maximum justice for the money that you have invested. But it is not that in this case, because they are working for salaried officers who work. So as a result, there will be lack of motivation or initiation among the officers. Next is lack of good labor relations. If it is a sole trading concern, the sole trader will be directly in touch with the customers. As a result, there establishes a good personal relationship between the owner, workers and the consumers. Because of this, there will not be any disputes in the workings of the business. But this is not possible in case of joint stock company, where there is more scope or more probability of industrial disputes happening in the joint stock company form. Next is high taxation. See, the joint stock companies are levied higher rates of taxes as a result, okay, when compared to the other forms of organization. These are the disadvantages of joint stock companies. Next is the types of companies we shall go. When looking into the types of companies, there is a small flow chart here. The types of companies can be classified on 5 broad headings. Based on incorporation, they can be classified. Based on membership, you can classify the companies. Based on liability, based on control, and based on nationality, you can classify the types of companies. Now today, let us learn about how the companies are being classified based on incorporation. Incorporation means what? It is a process of constituting a company. That is making a company into existence. That is incorporation. Legally bringing a company into existence is incorporation. Now, the first, under the classification of companies based on incorporation, the first type is chartered company. Chartered, you might have heard the word chartered flights. Okay, see, these chartered companies, they are established by the king or queen of a country. Now in India, it is practically not possible, because we don't have king's rule or queen's rule in India. We have a democratic republic form of government. Now here the king, it is it is established, the powers and the privileges of the maintenance of management of the company lies with the king or the queen. It is vested in the king or in the hands of the king or the queen, and it is established by the king or queen of a country. A good example is the East India Company, the English East India Company, which was established before independence, okay, in 1806 if I am right. Next is Bank of England and Hudson Bay Company. All those comes under the chartered company. These companies are not governed by the Companies Act of 2013. Okay. Next is statutory company. Statutory means anything which is passed by a special law. Okay, statutory companies, it is established by a special act made by the Parliament or the State Assembly. Please underline this. Any company which is established by a special act which is made in the parliament or in the state assembly, and the constitution of the company, there should be a memorandum of association relating to all the day-to-day activities of the statutory company, and it should be specified in the articles of association. Now you might be confused, what is MOA, what is AOA? We will be learning about all this in the coming topics. And there is a separate audit controller and Auditor General of India, and the reports of all these statutory companies will have to be submitted to the controller of the Auditor General of India. And what are such companies which are called as statutory companies? The Food Corporation of India, LIC, Life Insurance Corporation of India, the General Insurance Corporation of India, the RBI, SBI, all these comes under statutory company. And for these companies, they need not add the word limited next to the name of the company. Okay, Life Insurance Corporation of India, though the the liability of the members of the shareholders of this LIC is limited, it is they need not add the word limited next to its name. Next is association not for profit. See, according to Section 8 of the Companies Act 2013, the central government has given license to start an association and to register an association where it has been created for doing certain activities which is not purely for profit. There is no profit intention in the formation of these companies. Such companies, or you call it as associations not for profit. Now, for what reason such companies will be incorporated? See, for example, SDA, Sports Development Authority. I think many of you should be knowing, because every time you go for matches and you know what is SDA. SDA is an association which is registered under as company on the basis of incorporation, because they do not operate for profits. For what purpose they operate? They are operated for the purpose, what is the objective of this SDA? To promote sports and for the development of sports activities only these associations are formed. So whatever is the profit that is being earned by this association is spent only for promotion of sports, and there is no dividend being though there might be shareholders for these SDAs, but the profit will not be divided, will be given as dividend, because the profit will again be spent for the development of sports only. Like this, we have for the promotion of commerce, art, science, religion, charity. For all these purposes, you have associations which are working not for profit. Now the time is just a second, children. Next topic we shall see about, just a second, where did it go? Yeah. How are the companies being classified based on membership? Now, how are the companies being classified based on membership? Under this, first category is private company. So, it is a form of company where it is formed by minimum 2 shareholders and 2 directors will be there, and the maximum is being specified in the articles of association, but the minimum paid up share capital of this private limited company should be 1 lakh. Okay, and this is subject to further amendments as per 2015 Companies Act, Amendment Act. And the crucial condition for the private limited company is that the articles of association restricts the right. You cannot transfer the share capital from one member to another member. Basically, transferability of shares is one of the important feature of joint stock company. But if it is a private limited company, the share capital cannot be transferred from one person to other person. So it involves huge formalities which should be specified in the articles of association. And one more thing is, the maximum there can be only 200 persons can be the member shareholders of a private limited company. And another important feature is there should be the word PVT Limited, or within bracket P should be written, and the word Limited LTD should be there, suffixing the name of the company. Okay, you might have seen in many places. Okay, Asura Publications Private Limited, Okay, here it is given Scientific Publishing Service Private Limited. So wherever the word PVT Limited or P Limited is being specified, it means that that company is a private limited company with minimum 2 shareholders and a maximum of 200 people. I'm just giving you a recap because it is a a short answer. And the minimum paid up share capital is 1 lakh. Okay, and it has been omitted in the Companies Amendment Act and the Articles of Association. There is no right to transfer the shares, and it also prohibits it is not, the share capital is not given for the invitation of the public. Public people cannot subscribe to the shares or securities of this private limited company. So the shares are being held by the kith and kin of the the company itself. They can be either friends, it could be either held by the friends, or it could be held by the family members itself. And one more thing is, maximum members of the private limited company is only 200 people can become the shareholders, and there should be the word PVT Limited or P Limited suffixing the name of the company. Next is public limited company. Public limited company, the word public limited company itself, it means that it is not private. Okay, it means that what are the features of public limited? There should be at least minimum 7 members should be there to start a public limited company, and the paid up capital of the public limited company, minimum it should be 5 lakh rupee, and the higher it can be higher or such higher, if it is anything higher it should be specified. And it can either be a public limited company, or it can be a subsidiary of any other public limited company. It cannot be the subsidiary of any private limited. Subsidiary means what? Coming under the control of another company is subsidiary company. So a public limited company can exist by itself, or it can exist as a subsidiary of another public limited company, but not as a subsidiary of private limited company. Next is, you have the right to transfer their shares. The shareholders can transfer the shares to someone else. Next is, you can invite, this public limited company can invite for subscribers for their shares or debentures of the company. Next is, they can accept the deposits which are coming from the public also. Example for public limited company, National Aluminium Company Limited. So they need not prefix the word PVT next to the name of the company. Just limited is enough. The word limited should be attached as a suffix to the company. Next is classification of companies based on liability. Based on liability, the company is limited by shares. Here, the company is limited by shares means the liability of the members is limited only to the amount of money that is being paid as shares. Suppose if they have not paid the full value of the shares, see for example, if the share value is 100 rupees and you have subscribed for, let us assume 100 shares. So what you have to pay, it means that 10,000 is your share capital. Suppose out of this 10,000 you have paid only 9,000 rupees. Now this 1,000 rupees is the unpaid shares that you have to pay to the company. At the time of winding up, what is your liability? If you are paid 10,000, you do not get your 10,000. That is your liability. Suppose if you are paid only 9,000 rupees, the remaining unpaid share capital 1,000 rupee will be your liability during the time of winding up. Such a type of company, you call it as company limited by shares. This is what is given in the 2 points. Next is company limited by guarantee. Under the company limited by guarantee, the liability of its members, it is being prescribed in the Memorandum of Association that you have to undertake to contribute to the assets of the company during the time of winding up. Such companies are generally formed for the promotion of commerce and art or charity. Okay, the company is limited by guarantee may be either private limited company or the public limited company, where the assets of the company can be utilized for during the time of liquidity of the company. Next is unlimited company. When you talk of unlimited company, the liability of the members, it is not limited, which means it is unlimited. There is no limit for the liability of the members during the time of winding up. That is, the members of the company, they have to pay whatever is the company's loss, they have to pay from their personal property. So if the company is owing huge amount of money to the creditors, in such a case the creditors have got the right to sue against the members of the company, because it is a company which is being registered as company unlimited company. In such a situation, during the time of winding up of the company, the creditors can claim for their settlement from the personal property of the shareholders. The next topic is classification of companies based on control. When you talk of this, when you take the classification of companies based on control, you can classify as government companies, holding companies and subsidiary companies. First, let us see what are government companies. See, the government companies are public enterprises which are incorporated under the Indian Companies Act of 1956. Please underline this. You otherwise call it as public enterprise, or otherwise you call it as government company. Both means the same. Here, these companies, they are owned and managed by either central government or the state government, or partly by the central and the state government. Now, the definition of what is companies, what is a government company, we shall see. According to the Companies Act of 1956, defines government companies as a company in which not less than 51% of the paid up share capital is held by the central government or any state government or governments, partly by central and partly by one or more of the state governments. Very easy to understand, children. The share capital, the total value of out of the total value of share capital, 51% of the value should be held by central government, or this 51% should be held by state government, any one state government, or 2 or 3 state governments together, or this 51% should be held by central government and one state government, or central government and one or more state governments. That's all. So such a company, you call it as government company. Next is a subsidiary of the government company. Suppose, for example, Steel Authorities of India, SAIL, the Indian Oil Corporation, Natural, ONGC, all these are called as government companies only, because the public also can contribute to the share capital of the company, where 49% of the shares will be held by public, 51% of the shares will be held by whom? By the government, whether it can be central or state, or 2 or more states together and the central. So it is basically it is treated as a government company only. It is registered, these companies are registered as what? Private limited companies only. Okay, but the management is vested in the hands of the government. Okay, and public also, individuals also, we can subscribe to the shares of the company. So here in few cases the management is sometimes mixed also. Okay, mixed ownership is also there. Next is holding company. Holding company means you hold the control of some other company. That is called as holding company. See, holding company, according to section 2 under subsection 87, subsidiary company or subsidiary in relation to any other company is said to hold, that is to say, the holding company means in which the holding company, it controls the composition of the board of directors. Okay, so see, holding company is the company which is on the top. Under that you have subsidiary company. Subsidiary company means the holding company is a company which holds the board composition, which controls the board of directors of the subsidiary company which is under it. Okay, and it exercises controls more than half of the total share capital of these subsidiary companies. Such a company, you call it as holding company. Next is a subsidiary company. Subsidiary company. See, when we learn holding companies together, we need to learn about subsidiary companies also. Subsidiary companies are under the holding company. Okay, it means that these companies are being held by the holding company. So the control and management of the subsidiary companies are held by whom? By the holding companies. And more than 1/2 of the share capital of these subsidiary companies are held by whom? By the holding companies. Such a company, you call it as subsidiary company. We have a small example to understand better. H Limited holds 50% of the equity shares of S Limited, which means H company is holding company and S Limited is a subsidiary company. That's all. H Limited, it is holding 50% of the share capital, equity share capital of which company? S company, S Limited. Now H Limited is called as holding company and S Limited is called as subsidiary company. How do you say? H Limited is a holding company of S Limited and S Limited is a subsidiary of the H Limited. That's all. Now the time is almost 30 minutes is over. Next, I shall just finish the classification of company based on nationality. Based on nationality, you can classify as domestic companies. Domestic companies, the word itself is easy. It is controlled by the Companies Act of 1956 and the operations are what is it, company which cannot be termed as a foreign company under the provisions of Companies Act is regarded domestic company. You cannot call it as a foreign company. You call it as a domestic company operating within India. Now, what do you call, which company do you call as foreign company? Any company which is incorporated in a company outside India under the law of that country. Okay, see here, any company which is registered under the Companies Act of India, which is registered, which is incorporated in India, you call it as domestic company. Foreign company, a company has got its operation in India, but it is incorporated in some other country under that particular country's law. Such a company, you call it as foreign company. Or after the establishment of the business in India, the documents are filed with the register of the companies within 30 days from the date of establishment. Once these business is being established, you file all the documents of such company, okay, within 30 days of the incorporation. Next is a certified copy of the charter statutes of these companies is incorporated or memorandum of it is translated into English. See here, whatever is a certified copy, you see, a foreign company as such, it cannot come and start its business in India. It has to undergo certain formalities and our government should accept for the moralities of these foreign companies establishment in India, and all the memorandum and the articles of those foreign companies has to be submitted to the Register of Indian Companies Act, and the full address of the registered office of the company should be given there, and the list of directors and the secretaries of the company should be given, and the name and address of the persons resident of India who is authorized to act on behalf of the company, and the service of the who is responsible for the legal formalities, and if any notice has to be served, on whose name it has to be served, the full address of the original company's principal place of business where it is incorporated, the full address of that, everything should be given within 30 days from the date of establishment, where these documents should be submitted to the Register of Companies, to the Registrar of Companies. Next is multinational companies. Multinational companies, it is a huge industrial organization, it could be, okay, where such a multinational company has its operations in more than one country, and either it carries out production, marketing or research activities on an international scale basis only it acts. Okay, it can be a research organization, or it can be involved into production, or it can involve into marketing, or it can be into servicing sector also. But if a company has its operation in more than one country, such a company you call it as MNC or multinational company, and it seeks to maximize the profit all over. Okay, where in whichever place it has got scope of earning huge amount of profit, it can get proper license from that country, like by submitting it to the registrar of the companies of that country and start their business. A domestic company or a foreign company can be an MNC also. See, even a domestic company which is incorporated in India can also have its operation in different countries also. Likewise, a foreign company which is incorporated in some other country and having business in India, it can also have business in many other countries also. So a domestic company or a foreign company can also be called as a multinational company. Examples: Microsoft Corporation, Nokia Corporation, Nestle, Coca-Cola, all these are multinational corporations where they have their business operations in different parts of the world. Now with this we are finishing today's class. Okay, in today's class we saw about the advantages and disadvantages of joint stock company, types of companies based on different classifications. Okay, and in next class we shall see about what is MOA and AOA. And for today's homework, I want you to write page number 59, chapter 6. I want you to write short answers, Roman number 3, all the 4 short answers. Okay children, thank you and have a good day. Bye bye.